done. So the guy Luigi Mangione, however you say this brother's name, but either way, he is the guy that was suspected of killing the CEO of United Healthcare. Yes, that individual. And I want y'all to know that is not the way you do things. I understand, and he was Ivy League too. The guy was a privileged individual and basically a lot of things. People say, "Oh, I like the guy." I don't. Look, you know what I hate about people? They portray to be God fearing people. They portray to be Catholics, high religious individual. I don't portray none of that shit, but I still don't say death to people. So that's why when people be spilling the nonsense, oh, he should have killed this guy. No one should die because they're in a position of power. Technically, definitely a CEO that has nothing to do with the business other than being a CEO. You know what I'm saying? He didn't make the business. He's just the representation of the business. Now, look, I'm not saying they're doing right. Now, in this situation, this is not about what it was right or wrong. What he did, you shouldn't kill people. Let's just put that out there. If he was in any other state, what was this, New York? Any other state, he was in Florida, he getting a needle. There's no trial, nigga. Any other state, he's getting, if he's in a red state, he's getting a needle. Simple as that. You know what I'm saying? So I know people think like he's only going to get away with this. He's only going to get a life sentence, really. He's not going to get anything horrible done. So that's all that is. Anyway, new key evidence has been revealed in this case, and I think you guys might be shocked here. So let's play the video. Let's go. Don't forget to subscribe. It's your boy Angelo Savage. Let's go.
We have breaking news in one of the criminal cases against Luigi Mangione, the man who's accused of killing United Healthcare CEO. He's appearing right now in a New York City courtroom. Moments ago, the judge, Gregory Caro, issued a major ruling. He says state prosecutors will be allowed to use some key evidence recovered during his arrest in Altoona, Pennsylvania, back in December of 2024. But other key pieces of evidence will now be suppressed. Put simply, a partial win for the defense. So what stays in? Well, a firearm and notebooks discovered in Mangione's backpack. What is suppressed? Electronic devices, including his cell phone and computer chip, and the firearm magazine. The judge also ruled some of the statements Mangione allegedly made to investigators at that McDonald's will be admissible as long as he wasn't officially considered in custody at that time. The 28-year-old suspect has pleaded not guilty to both state and federal charges stemming from the killing of Brian Thompson outside a Manhattan hotel. Let's bring in NBC News legal analyst Danny Savalos for more on these proceedings today. We're just digesting it now. Bottom line, this is a surprise that even the defense is getting some sort of victory here. And really, when it comes, let's start with the physical evidence here, things like the gun and the notebook versus the magazines, the wallet, the passport, things like that. It really comes down to what was actually confiscated at the McDonald's versus what was then later taken out of the backpack while he was at the police station. Walk us through this decision.
Exactly right. This is a surprise. These motions are rarely granted. They're very difficult to win. And even a partial win here is a massive win for the defense. And you're exactly right. So the Fourth Amendment prohibits searches without a warrant. But there are so many exceptions to the warrant requirement.
Right.
And in this case, when they approached Mangione, once he was secure and the bag was 9 feet away, then they needed a warrant because it was no longer in what is called his grabbable area, his wingspan. If it's something he could theoretically still reach, like a firearm, then they can search it incident to arrest for obvious reasons, officer safety. But in this case, because he was secured, the bag's 9 feet away, they're no longer in officer safety land. So anything that was searched and discovered at the McDonald's essentially is being suppressed. But interestingly enough, once they take it back to the station and they conduct what's called an inventory search, they did that largely correctly. And they got to other evidence that they didn't look at McDonald's.
Yeah, so you're telling me that he can have evidence that is suppressed due to the fact that it wasn't on his immediate person. And then the statements he was making before they read him his rights can also be suppressed. So that's basically suppressing evidence that proved that he was at the place, like the location of the phone. So you're saying, okay, we can suppress the phone location, then we suppress that he was even there at the position, right? That is kind of sticky. I hate the government, man. It's crazy because the phone puts you there, the cameras put you there, the suppressor puts you there, the letter that you wrote puts you there. You know what I'm saying? It's all proof. But you're telling me the judge said we're going to suppress all that. The only thing you could, even the extra magazine, because the suppressor was in the bag with the magazine. So the only thing they can hold him with is with his little journal he had and the gun he has on his person. Other than that, everything else that was in that bag cannot be used. That's crazy. What world do we live in? Nigga, he did it. It's evident. You hear me? He hopped in the car. I guess they get now. You know, it's so crazy. They're making it's good for the defense, and I guess this is the lawyer shit. It's good for the defense, but for the state that's gonna have to prosecute him and everything, they look at this like, okay, now we got to use the footage from or the location of the cab driver he took there, maybe footage of the incident, how he drove there, just to place him in that location. Right? Because if the judge is ruling out a bunch of evidence that literally puts him at that location at the scene of the crime, that means now the lawyers or the state side have to prove that he was still there without that evidence. And that's as of now. So that's a huge win for Luigi Mangione. You know what I'm saying? Now he got to go back to jail and sit in there with Diddy and Venezuela. You get what I'm saying? But still, it's like, the man smiling in trial, that's crazy. Look, I think I just want to see how this trial goes. We're going to see how this trial goes because it's very interesting. It's interesting how the government and the judge knows that, okay, you're telling me since we searched the bag before reading him his rights, we cannot press that. And I guess that's the law. They should have done that. But due to the fact that the bag was this many feet away from him, you cannot assume that it was his bag. But can you connect the handwriting in the bag and the location and the stuff that was used in the scene of the crime to him? It's his. So this is this is a liberal state we're talking about here. They damn near might walk him out the front gate. I'm telling you. New York, you might walk this man out the front gate. You're free. I know you killed the CEO, but they should have read you your rights. And that's true. They should have. But there's evidence of something. They're looking for a guy. Said guy's on the news. He's been identified. Call has went through. Said he's here. I'm coming to grab him. I have probable cause to assume that this bag that he used in the crime that we were looking at the video to find him is his. But the judge said, fuck all that. Throw it out. Woo! That's a very sticky situation we're dealing with here. That's the crazy part. And then you got the man smiling in court. The man smiling in court. He don't give a damn.
Including the firearm, which to me is the biggest piece of evidence that stays in. That will stay in because the inventory search was proper.
And that's what's interesting. Maybe some people didn't realize about this case was initially when they searched his backpack, the magazine was one of the things they found, but not the actual handgun itself. That was discovered later when they were processing the backpack back at the police station. Big picture, what does this mean for the case? Because I feel like if the gun stays in and the notebook stays in, which allegedly includes some writings about the healthcare industry and things that could go to motive, that seems like a big deal. But not having the magazine, not having the cell phone, the passport, the wallet, how could that hurt the prosecution's case?
Look, here's the thing. The prosecution has a lot of evidence against Luigi Mangione, but the defense here has done an amazing job. And obviously, I'm a defense attorney, so I'm a little biased, but I understand the uphill battle they've had at every turn. And this motion was always a long shot. And I expected, I said it on the morning show with you, Joe, that I expected this motion to be flat out denied, just as the similar motion was denied in federal court. So even a partial win, it doesn't mean the case goes away. As you know, the government or the prosecution still has a lot of evidence against him. And you're right, the gun, to me, is the most important. But that is the way criminal defense works. You chip away. You chip away. It's death by 1,000 cuts, figuratively. It's a saying. So you try to chop away at the prosecution's case. And two things can happen. Either the case might get too weak, or you can negotiate a better outcome for your client.
The defense is just looking for reasonable doubt in the mind of one juror, and that's what makes the difference here. So that's some of the physical evidence here. Another question.
And that's what it's about. It's about creating a reasonable doubt. So if you remove this, and this is my opinion, I don't have no expert advice here, but I'm just thinking, based on all the trials and stuff I've seen, if you take the suppressor away from the crime and he can't use it in the evidence, and the video states that he had a suppressor on the weapon, but you can't use that weapon, was there ever actually him that shot the man? Because his face was not showing. You see, that's how they gonna tear this shit apart. They're gonna tear it apart like death by a thousand cuts. They're gonna be like, well, the guy in the video had a suppressor. He doesn't have one because that evidence has been suppressed because he can't use it. So technically, he never had it. I don't know. I hope no dumb shit like that happen. That'd be nuts. That'd be crazy, man. Like if he walked free, that'd be the craziest thing in the world. And I'll be honest, it'd be a negative thing for the world because what it's going to do is going to motivate other people to do the same crime. It's that simple. It makes sense, right? So if he gets away that simple, literally, I don't even know if he has the money to defend himself. It's the fans that came out the woodwork donating to his foundation and shit that allowed him to even have the defense he has to defend himself, which is crazy. So y'all tell me what y'all think about that in the comment section. So that's the new evidence found, is that they suppressing evidence. You get what I'm saying? Y'all tell me what y'all think about this in the comment section. Your boy Angelo Savage. Don't forget to like the video for the YouTube algorithm. Lastly, don't forget to subscribe. It's your boy Savage, man. Let's go. Peace.